Okay, this is the Julie Geigle Show, and this is a sneak peek of our Lifeclass Book Club today. What would it mean to be able to harness the power of your soul and find peace? Today we will be talking about Through God's Eyes, finding peace and purpose in a troubled world. And we have our guest here, Phil Bolsta. And this is actually a sneak peek at our Lifeclass Book Club. So Phil will be joining us live every Tuesday at 2 p.m. on Blog Talk Radio to help us align with our soul. Our soul is our connection to the divine, whether that's God or spirit or the universe for you. Our purposes for the next 6 weeks, we will be using the word God. So Life Class Book Club is live, is free. So be sure to register over at www.juliegeigel.com and just click on the Life Class tab. So thank you so much, Phil, for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to this, Julie.
Yeah, very exciting. I've actually been hosting book clubs while I used to be a school teacher, reading teacher, and that was my favorite thing to do is to have book clubs in the classroom. So when I left and launched into the spiritual world here, I hosted in-person book clubs for probably 5 years. And then I went online, and we started an online book club, which has been just amazing. And so we're thrilled to add this new component. We'll be interviewing, talking with Phil every week as we journey through the 6 weeks. We usually read a book through 6 weeks, and then we take 2 weeks off before we launch into another book. But yeah, this topic really caught my eye. I, you know, what a shift in perception to imagine that you are God and to see the world from His eyes.
Well, it's really a reminder to look from a higher perspective, not that we are God per se, but just as a reminder to look, instead of looking through your own eyes and seeing only from your own perception, imagine coming from a higher perspective and looking through the eyes of God and seeing the order and the beauty of everyday life. And that order does not appear orderly to us at the time. Carolyn Mace has a great quote. She said, looking back, looking ahead, you see only chaos. Looking back, you see only order. So it's a reminder to try to come from that perspective and see the order even as chaos swirls around you at the time.
Yeah. And I think that kind of a part of the, new age philosophy is actually embracing that idea that I am God, that I am a part of God, and so God is within me and is the essence of who I am. How do you align that with the idea that God is outside of us?
Well, you can say that we each are individual waves in the ocean, but we can't say that we are the ocean because the ocean can do without one wave. But God, the ocean, can say that God is the waves.
Mm-hmm.
So we are literally a drop of God in a sea of God.
Yes, yes, yes.
And so the essence of God, the characteristics of God are in each of us. Yes.
Yeah, and I forget which spiritualist it was, but I know it was on Oprah. One of the teachers said, "I am a thumbprint of God."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yes. As again, just as a wave is not the ocean itself, still it is of the ocean, has all the characteristics of the ocean.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think it's so important on that spiritual journey because people, typically one of the biggest mistakes that we make is that we're looking outside of ourselves. And it's not about out there, it's about in here.
Right. Everything is in your inner world, and that's the outer world is a reflection of your inner world. And everything is interconnected. Every atom of the universe is interconnected beyond space and time. Deepak Chopra and others call that the unified field, this complex web of divine energy that connects everything to everything else.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All right. Well, today we're covering the first three chapters of the book, and we'll start with chapter one, Rethink Your Worldview. Then we'll move into chapter two, You Are Not Separate from God. I guess I jumped ahead there. Chapter three, You Are Beautiful and You Are Loved. And so, I have to admit, Phil, that when this book arrived in the mail, I was like, OMG. I'm never going to get through this thing. Because, like I said, we read a book in 6 weeks, so there's no pause there. But then when I opened it up, and I'm a quote guru. I don't know if you're on my list, but I do spiritual or soulful living, and it's a email message that gets sent out almost daily. I try to be daily, of my favorite quotes. And I just, when I opened it up and saw it was filled with quotes, I was like, oh my gosh, it's the answer to my prayers because I'm running out of quotes.
Well, I hope you find some good ones
Oh
there.
my gosh.
And as you can see, that it's a unique format, and that my narrative alternates with the quotes, but in a way that the narrative and quotes build on, support, and flow into each other for a seamless read. You can read my narrative without the quotes
Yep.
and still gain a lot from it,
Yep.
or you can read them with the quotes. It just helps with the depth of the experience. And I think as you find, it's actually a quick read.
It
If you,
is.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. 80 pages was nothing. Yeah. Very
And
doable.
a lot of people have told me that they use this book as a resource either in the morning or at night. They read one page or a two-page section
Yeah.
and just gives them something to think about for the next day.
Absolutely, and that's what I found myself doing. I would read, maybe 5 pages at a time in short bits of time. I'm notorious when I'm cooking for walking away from the stove and burning stuff. So this was great because it kept me in the kitchen, and yeah, it was just enough to not keep me, or not, so I wasn't bored waiting for dinner.
Did you find some good quotes that you hadn't seen before?
Oh my goodness, I probably have enough material to get me through at least 6 months, if not a whole year.
Good. It was fun
Um,
finding them all.
yeah, yeah. So let's go ahead and jump into Rethink Your Worldview. I wanted to make sure that we had time to talk about your 4 steps to enlightenment on page 18. You
Hmm.
say that the 4 steps are learn, believe, know, and being.
Hmm.
Can you expand on that for us?
Yes, that order is absolute. And it's actually, as I say in the book, it's actually illustrated in the movie The Matrix, that step-by-step transformation from ignorance to cosmic consciousness, because uh, Keanu Reeves' character, Neo, for example, did you see The Matrix?
I did. It's been a
Oh,
while, and a lot of the spiritual books reference that, so it might be time to go back and watch it again.
okay, well, it's a good example to convey these 4 steps, because Neo, the central character, is clueless that his world is just an elaborate fabrication. When he's exposed to the truth, he continues to resist until that existence of a higher reality cannot be ignored. So he learned, and then he believed, and over time he wraps his mind around the concept until it's fully integrated into his consciousness. He knows it, and finally, as his life hangs in the balance, he experiences an epiphany and becomes one with it, one with the cosmos, that he becomes it. So it's actually the step, the jump between learning and knowing. I like there's a 1959 BBC interview when the host asked Carl Jung, the founder of analytical psychology, "Do you now believe in God?" And Jung responded famously, "I don't need to believe. I know." And that really says it all. When you're exposed to something, when you learn it, at first you don't believe it. And then when you come to believe it, it's still really an opinion of sorts. But then when you integrate it into your consciousness, you know it, as Jung said, the difference between believing and knowing, and then you become one with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if we apply that to our own reality, and I know there's been a lot of discussion that this is all an illusion, and when I work with clients, I have to say that is probably the most difficult concept for people to wrap their mind around. And so when we apply it to our own reality, that this is all an illusion, what is our best recourse of action not to get caught up in the illusion?
Well, it really comes down to reality with a capital R and reality with a small case r. And reality with a large case R is the divine realm, God. And when you look at the world through God's eyes, you see that what we call reality is indeed real, but it is also an illusion in the sense that it is not true reality. It's a mind-blowing concept. And, well, let me explain. Hinduism says that, for example, the material world is a dream of God, a projection of cosmic consciousness. And their deity Vishnu is portrayed as the divine dreamer of the world dream. And because we are not separate from God, there we are in the second chapter again, we dream the dream along with God. The dream and the dreamer are one and the same. It's like when you're in a dream at night and a dream boulder hits your dream foot and it's dream pain, that's very real to you at the time. But then you wake up from it and you realize, oh, it was always only a dream. And at the end of our life, we very well may wake up and realize, oh, this existence was only a dream. It's a big concept to start things off on,
Yeah.
but it's a foundational concept, but it really doesn't affect so much the practicality of day-to-day life here. That's really an overview concept that we don't really need to focus on to live the kind of life that we wish to live here.
Well, I think that the important connection for people, for myself, that I've been able to make with that concept is I've done a lot with the Byron Katie,
Yes.
and she calls it the work.
Mm-hmm.
And her very first question in the work, so you take a thought in your mind, and then the very first question to ask yourself is it true?
Mm-hmm.
And I have yet to come across a person who is able to realize within the first question that it's not true. None of the thoughts in our head are true because this is all an illusion. It's not really happening. And so, she takes you through 4 questions to help you delve a little bit deeper into the thoughts in your head. But what was life-changing for me was when I could, I've got this so programmed in my mind that it's automatic now. When a thought comes into my mind and I recognize that it's out of alignment with who I desire to be, that first question, is it true, brings me back into remembering that this really is all an illusion and the only thing that's real is love and the power of God.
Well, yes, and everything, when you said it's not happening, everything is happening, but just as everything happens in a dream, it depends on what level you're looking at it. But what you're saying brings me back to the whole cornerstone of a spiritual life, which is surrender. And that is a core concept because you said when you're not in alignment. How do you get in alignment? The first step in that is surrender. And that's a loaded word for some people. So the way I like to say it instead of surrender, perhaps, is aligning your will with divine will. And when you do that, when you dedicate your life to service in God and to serving as a pure instrument of divine will, it's incredibly liberating. You are free of all the judgments and any negative feelings from others. Surrender really is a way to live a pure, heart-centered life because, well, look at it this way. If you believe that a supreme loving intelligence governs all of existence, then surrendering to God, or as you said at the beginning of the show, to the universe, to life, whatever term you wish to use, it's the most logical decision you can make because if you're being guided with infinite wisdom and inexhaustible love at all times, that would mean that life is unfolding in a way that has your best interests in mind. And that would mean that every situation you are presented with is a gift. It's an opportunity for you to learn and grow and move closer to fulfilling your potential. So ultimately, surrendering to God puts you on the fast track to living the best life you can possibly live. And I used to be a people pleaser. And a few years ago, when I realized this, I went, oh, okay, this makes sense to me now because I gave up wondering or worrying about what other people think of me. Instead, I just tried to always make the highest choice with a pure heart, loving heart, and in service to God. And that way, I can accept the consequences of whatever my decisions and actions are because I acted in the most pure, highest way I possibly could. And I can't see all the factors. None of us can. But we trust that everything that is coming into our life is there for a reason. We look at it as a gift. All of these principles are connected. That's kind of a long answer, but it's why I wrote the book, because I wanted to show how all of these spiritual principles interact, how to weave them together into a cohesive worldview, and how to practically apply this wisdom to live a more peaceful, beautiful life, because you can't take one principle as a standalone entity out of context and expect it to make sense on its own.
Well, I think that one of the statements that is very strong in my mind and many people's minds is, and help me with who said it, I think it was Buddha or the Dalai Lama, life is a struggle. So what do you have to say for people with that belief system that life is a struggle?
Well, that's the way M. Scott Peck started out his book. And I would say it doesn't have to be that way. Life can be a beautiful gift. As you can look at every single moment as a gift, no matter what happens, no matter how, if it's in your mind good or bad. If you train yourself to welcome each situation with 3 words, as you wish, that automatically puts you in the mindset of looking at everything that happens to you as a gift and a learning opportunity, and trusting, and that's where surrender comes in, trusting that it is there for a reason. And if it's there for a reason, you don't have to know the reason. All you have to do is trust that it's there and say, okay, what is the gift in this situation? So there's no need to struggle in the traditional sense. Yes, there will be challenging times, but you can find joy and peace and love in those challenging times, just as easily in the good times if you have the right mindset. And a funny thing happens when you give up struggling. Life works easier, life works better, and the situations that used to cause you struggle don't come to you as often because there's no need for it
Right.
anymore.
Well, even that phrase, life is a struggle, that's resistance. And what we resist
Right.
persists. And as soon as you
Right.
surrender to that belief system, then you're flowing with the river, as Abraham would say. You're in the flow, and that's easy and effortless coming to you. All right. And I think we've covered chapter 2. So with our 10 minutes left, let's move into chapter 3. You are beautiful and you are loved. On page 67, you talk about a life of devotion. And I really thought that this was important, especially for our listeners today. And you talk about, I would like to read from the book. Give me 1 second. Okay. Visual reminders can help your attention focused on and your mind attuned to divine consciousness. So again, visual reminders can help keep your attention focused on and your mind attuned to divine consciousness. Find images of the manifestations of God, Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, Jesus, Krishna, Buddha that speak to your heart. Place them in your home, in your wallet, on your computer screen, and anywhere else you are likely to see them. And I was looking around my space, I was looking around my house, and I was like, wow, that's really amazing, because in every single room in my house, literally, in every single room in my house, I either have a cross or a statue of an angel or a crystal or something, and my office is filled with Buddha and statues of Mother Mary. I mean, I even had one client say, Julie, you might want to get rid of some of this religious stuff in here because you might be scaring people off. And I did for a while, but you know what? I brought it all back in. I thought, this helps me. This helps me. And if people are scared by that, then those aren't the people I want to attract.
Exactly. And it's funny about spirituality. When you learn math, you don't have to remind yourself of it every day. You know it. But with spirituality, in your relationship to God, it seems like we need moment to moment reminders constantly. And the whole concept of devotion is simply the unceasing practice of acknowledging God's presence with the ultimate goal of living your life as one long prayer. And again, that comes down to surrender. Surrender and devotion are almost synonymous. And people say, well, how do I stay in alignment with divine will? Because I don't know what to do. And I look at it, there's 3 ways to do that. Regular practice of meditation helps keep you in that mindset. And affirmations, there's a bonus chapter on affirmations in this book that helped me tremendously. It's a way to overwrite negative thinking and thought patterns with positive ones. And it really made a difference for me, and it's incredibly simple and powerful to do. And the third is practicing the presence of God. His brother Lawrence, that wrote a book, The Practice of the Presence of God. And that's the way he lived, and he was in attunement with divine intelligence, with God in every moment, to the point where he was a lay monk, and past people were coming up to him, monastics, and saying, how are you doing this? And practicing the presence of God is really maintaining a dialogue with God in every moment of your life. As I said, living your life as one long prayer, and just coming back to making sure that you are in alignment with God, coming back to surrender, you trust, and that you are living with a pure heart and pure intentions in every moment. And the more you keep that in your consciousness, the easier life becomes, the happier you become, the more joy. It's a beautiful way to live.
Well, and it works. It works. I mean, I have a real quick story of something that just happened to me this morning. I've been having some trouble with cable, and I've probably had a charter guy out here every day for the last week and a half, and they're getting sick of me. But there's one guy that has just been amazing, and today this morning I was having problems again, and they scheduled a call, and all morning long I was praying for him to come in, and I mean it's random. They've got you know 10, 20 guys out there, and it's random who comes to you. And when I opened the door and he was standing there, I almost threw my arms around him. I'm like, oh my God, I've been praying for you. He's like, what? I'm like, no, no, you're really good. You know what you're doing. I was praying to God that you would show up this morning, and here you are.
Well, it's, cosmic consciousness is one with cable consciousness, I guess. So that
Well,
works.
it's just so true, and I think people forget something so simple. And everything, every experience that you're having throughout your day, God is just never too busy to be there for you and to again attune your will with His will. And it is a matter you have to reach out. I mean, had I not focused my energy on the person I wanted, because what was happening was I had one guy and he was awful. I hated him. I didn't want him to come back because he wasn't very nice to me, and I kept thinking, oh please, I don't want him. I don't want him, and I was getting obsessed with, oh my God, he's going to come. I know it's going to be that one, and then all of a sudden, I could just feel God saying, focus on what you want, not what you don't want.
What you resist persists. What you resist knocks on the door. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So being able to shift my awareness over was key.
Say, by the way, if any of your listeners want to get a sneak peek at this book, let me know if you want me to give some contact information. I can send them a sampler of excerpts.
Oh, yeah, that would be great. If yeah, go ahead. We've got 2 minutes and 36 seconds left.
Okay. Well, you can email me at God's Eyes, GODSEYES, at me.com, and I'll send you a PDF sampler of like 46 pages of excerpts. And I can even send you a sample chapter if you'd like. And it'd be great to connect with you. I have a blog, philbolsta.com. It's full of uplifting, inspiring, feel-good content, and I just love to connect with people, and that would be wonderful. And if they do want to see the book, they can go. Here's an easy way to remember it: God'sEyesAmazon.com is the where to order it on Amazon, or to get an overview of more information, God'sEyesBook.com brings you to my
Perfect,
blog.
perfect. Well, everyone, this was a sneak peek of our Lifeclass Book Club. If you'd like to continue with us, be sure to register over at www.juliegeigel.com and just click on the Life Class tab. We'd be thrilled if you liked us on Facebook and followed us on Twitter to keep this connection going. And remember, if you keep on doing what you've always done, you'll keep on being who you've always been. Change doesn't happen unless you make a change. And making a change brings you one step closer to living the life of your dreams. I hope everyone joins us next week here with Phil Bolsta, Tuesday at 2 p.m. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you, Julie. It's been a joy.